Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty fall for the 7th straight day. Broader markets fare better than the blue chips. Banks and metals do well, but IT stocks fall the most. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says there's no cause for undue concern over economic growth and India is in a strong position. Also calls on banks to ramp up credit to small and medium industries.
Perhaps this has become the opportune time for having 100% FDI.
India's insurance regulator bats for 100% FDI in the sector. Chairman Debashish Panda says it's an opportune time to do so. Also adds that they are nudging large and mature insurers to go for public listings. That's exclusive. Tata's to double down on its Apple bet. Sources say that Tata Electronics is in advanced talks to pick up 60% stake in iPhone manufacturer Pegatron's India operations. The development comes exactly a year after Tata's acquired Wistron's India business. Israel intensifies its Lebanon offensive. Hezbollah's chief spokesperson killed in an airstrike on central Beirut. Dozens killed or injured after Israel strikes a residential building in northern Gaza. Pope Francis has suggested assessing whether Israel's military campaign in Gaza constitutes a genocide. Delhi's air quality slips into the severe category, triggers stricter pollution control measures. All construction and demolition activities have been banned. No physical classes for students except class 10th and 12th. Airlines warn of flight delays as visibility drops. Violence escalates in Manipur. Police say a protester was killed in firing after clashes with a mob that was vandalizing properties. The state is on the boil again after the death of women and children who were abducted by militants. Outgoing President Joe Biden has reportedly allowed Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles into Kursk, a Russian territory. Marks a significant policy shift for Washington. Both White House and Kremlin are yet to officially comment on the development. World leaders reach Brazil's Rio for the 19th G20 summit. Fight against hunger, poverty and multilateral institution reforms top the agenda. A breakthrough on climate finance, which eluded the COP29 summit, may be on the cards. Leaders may also brace for a new global order with the return of Donald Trump. All right, first up, the day's trading action. The Wall Street failed to hold the recovery. Nifty and Sensex fell for the 7th straight day. Nifty is now below the 23,500 mark. Broader markets outperformed the blue chips. Nifty Bank ended 0.25% in the green. Metal stocks batted for the bulls, but IT firms were the big laggards. Oil prices were marginally higher after fighting between Russia and Ukraine intensified over the weekend. However, concerns about fuel demand in China and the forecast of a global oil surplus continued to weigh on prices. Remember, the International Energy Agency has forecast that global oil supply will exceed demand by more than 1 million barrels a day. Shares of city gas distributors plunged in trade after their gas allocation through the administered price mechanism was cut by 20%. The second allocation cut in as many months is expected to impact the profitability of gas players like Gujarat Gas, MGL and IGL. The APM gas availability now stands at 45% compared to 70% a month ago. West Asia continues to boil. Israel has killed Hezbollah spokesman Mohammad Afif after striking a building in central Beirut. The military has also killed at least 6 paramedics in the region. Israeli forces have also bombed Gaza's safe zone, killing at least 4 people. Forces also bombed a multi-story building in northern Gaza. Pope Francis has called for an investigation into allegations of genocide in the enclave. The big news maker this evening, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman played down concerns over a potential slowdown in economic growth. Speaking at the annual SBI conclave in Mumbai, Finance Minister said that there's no reason for undue concern and India remains in a strong position. She said foreign direct investment in FY25 remains healthy and this reinforces the global confidence in India. The Finance Minister also called on banks to expand credit to small and medium industries.
Let me assure you that the government is fully aware of the challenges posed by both domestic and global factors. There is no cause for undue concern. India's economy remains resilient, underpinned by strong macroeconomic fundamentals. The government is closely monitoring an evolving situation. We remain committed to taking all necessary measures to ensure that India remains fully and firmly on course to become the third largest economy in the world. MSME, not merely as a sector of risk, but as a sector of brimming opportunities, what has got to be on the top of the table for public sector banks. Banks should target lending, I said, 1.54 lakh crores more this year than the usual business as usual limit of 4.21 lakh crores. But banks next year for 25-26 should target lending of 6.12 lakh crores and 7 lakh crores for 26-27 for the MSMEs.
The head of India's direct tax department is upbeat about meeting the budget targets. Speaking to Timsy Jaipuria, CBDT chairman Ravi Agarwal said the department is taking all efforts to exceed the budget goals. He also spoke about the surge in collections of securities transaction tax and if it is sustainable.
We are very, very positive about the present trends in the budget collection, and as reflected from the present trends, I am very hopeful and I am in fact very sure that we would not only achieve the budget targets, but we would take all steps to exceed it.
So when we talk about the collections, STT is the outlier. Every time we are seeing STT collections rising to almost double. Do you think that is a silver lining for the tax department to actually see how the recent changes that were made in securities tax collections, in the capital gains tax collections, is that something that is helping the department to come up with some new strategies, or is hopeful that these current rates will continue on these two planks?
You see, these are reflective. STT higher, it's about 89% now increase. But this is reflective of the overall economic scenario in the country. So this is a reflection of that. And of course, tax is the component. It's basically a derivative, I would say. Once the economic activity goes up, that is reflected in the, you see, earnings, corporate earnings, and then also the share market also reflects that. So it's all a reflective of the economic trends and the economic progress in the country. So naturally, if that's an offshoot, and if the economic progress is more, then corresponding taxes would also increase across the board, be it STT or corporate tax or a non-corporate tax.
Chairman of insurance regulator IRDAI believes this is the opportune moment for India to allow 100% FDI in the insurance sector. Speaking to Yash Jain at the CNBC TV 18 Global Leadership Summit, Debashish Panda said a lot of foreign interest is waiting to enter the Indian insurance market.
If we depend only on the domestic resources, so, then the crowding out effect will play out. So therefore, we have to perhaps look at FDI also. And if 100% FDI is allowed, along with the growth capital or the required capital, it will also bring in global expertise. It will bring in, capacity, technology. So all of that will definitely bound to happen. So perhaps this has become the opportune time for having 100% FDI. So what will help potentially to the 100% is that it will play out in the sense now the players will come with 100% FDI. They can plan their business independently. They can decide on their growth plan. They can decide what kind of business they want to write. They can infuse the capital very promptly and easily because they don't need to depend upon their domestic partner. So all of this will also be a concomitant benefit which will accrue. And therefore, we need to perhaps think about. But however, I'm sure that the government will take a decision on this at the appropriate time.
Chairperson, sir, you've been doing a lot of roadshows overseas as well. When you speak to a lot of these foreign investors and insurance companies, what do they have to say? A couple of things that they have to say in terms of what could 100% FDI give it to them, which let's say a 74% didn't.
No, that's what I just mentioned. They can plan their businesses independently. So you don't need to search for a domestic partner who would match their expectations. then they would decide what will be the growth plan. They would bring in the capital as per their own plan and design. So all of that flexibility will come in, and they will be able to grow the manner in which they intend to grow. So that will help by allowing 100% FDI.
Honasa Consumer fell 20% to slip below its IPO price. This after the firm reported a decline in sales, which led to a loss in the September quarter. The company reported a consolidated net loss of 19 crore rupees versus a profit after tax of 29 crore rupees in the same period last year. The weak Q2 performance was due to a one-time inventory correction amid a shift in its distribution model. Revenue from operations stood at 462 crore rupees, which was down 7% compared to the 496 crore rupees it saw last year. Tatas are planning to double down on its Apple bet. We learned from sources that Tata Electronics is in advanced talks to pick up 60% stake in iPhone manufacturer Pegatron's India operations. Ashmit Kumar is here with the details. Ashmit, what are you picking up?
Well, you put it there appropriately. Tata Electronics looking to expand its footprint, especially as far as Apple products, especially as far as iPhone manufacturing in India is concerned. Bear in mind, in October of 2023 is when Tata Electronics had acquired Wistron and its Hosur facility responsible for manufacturing of Apple products. Now, we understand that Tata Electronics has inched closer and is on the verge of clocking a deal with Pegatron for taking over its facility, at least a majority stake of its facility as far as Chennai is concerned. We understand that the talks is in the neighborhood for a 60% stake change of hands from Pegatron to Tata. The concern that has been cited by Pegatron is that it is finding difficult to operate here as far as the Indian market is concerned, on thin margins with labor issues, and on the back of that is looking for a local partner. Tata Electronics stepping in there. Pegatron, of course, just to benefit of our viewers, has over 10,000 employees responsible for manufacturing over 5 million iPhone units per year. So that's a large plan that we're discussing. So clearly, Tata Electronics expanding its footprint.
Right. Thank you, Ashmit, for that. On that note, we will slip into a short break. Coming up next, the loudspeakers go silent this evening ahead of Maharashtra elections on Wednesday. We discuss the key poll issues on the other side. Welcome back. Two key alliances comprising 6 political parties. The Maharashtra poll dance floor is a crowded one. The state goes to polls on Wednesday in a single phase. The polls are also a high-stake legacy battle on 2 fronts. The fight for the real Shiv Sena and Bal Thackeray's legacy, and the battle for the supremacy within the Pawar family.
आज मैं मुख्यमंत्री हूँ, मेरे दोनों साथी है उप मुख्यमंत्री, हम एक टीम बनकर इस चुनाव को सामने जा रहे। उन्होंने कहा पहले शिवसेना, भाजपा और एनसीपी का गठबंधन का सब बात होने दो, उसके बाद हम करते हैं, हम बैठते हैं। लेकिन उन्होंने अपने सब कैंडिडेट अनाउंस कर दिए।
It's not like which faction is the real faction. We are the real party.
It's being contested.
Only because someone steals something, the thief doesn't become the owner of the thing.
Why blame Ajit Pawar? It's the real power behind Ajit Pawar who took all this away from us. It was the use of agencies, as I call it, ice. Ice was an ice that you put in your nimbu pani. It's the ice as an income tax, CBI and ED.
एक है तो सेफ है, ये नरेंद्र मोदी जी की महाराष्ट्र सरकार की स्ट्रेटजी है, हम आपको ये दिखाना चाह रहे हैं। एक है तो सेफ है, देख लीजिए।
Right, joining us to discuss this further is Ninad Sheth, a senior journalist and political analyst. Mr. Sheth, thank you for making time and speaking to CNBC TV 18. From an analyst gaze, from a journalist gaze, what do you think of the respective campaigns of the BJP and the Congress, the Mahayuti and the MVA? Aside of the politicians' targets, the legacy, what do you think will resonate with people? Safe hai, ek hai to safe hai, or Mahayuti's caste census promise?
Archana, it is a very interesting election in one way, the election without ideology. This is an election where these are slogans and not, how do I say it? They're not aggregating on the ground. On the ground, it appears to me that clannish, loyalties are more important than party structures. So put differently, in this election, there are 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 families who are masquerading as political parties. That's point one. But the more important point is that the legacy issue that you speak about, for example, what is the real Shiv Sena? Well, what Shiv Sena itself stood for has gotten diluted, has gotten divided. So in the end, for BJP and the BJP alliance to come up with this very, sharp message of "Ek hai to safe hai," which the Prime Minister, in fact, diluted from Batoge to Katoge, if you like, brings to fore the attempt to consolidate the Hindu vote. Now, will it work here as it did in Haryana, where BJP came back from the dead? It is going to be very interesting because here the Maratha vote versus the OBC vote is divided between many parties and many clans and many smaller political groups. So it's not an easy counter OBC consolidation possible. Having said that, I think it would be interesting to know whether the personal popularity of Shinde, the chief minister, combines with what has been the RSS's active role on the ground here in Maharashtra. So if that works, I think that it will give a leg up and allow the ruling alliance to come out as the single largest alliance in this election. However, one thing is certain, that in a fragmented polity of Maharashtra, no single party can win the election on its own.
That's a very interesting point you made. Very often it's said that the voter of Maharashtra doesn't know who they are voting for. You spoke about the legacy. I want to speak about the issues here. On what issues do you think political parties are fighting this time? Because we've seen the big promises of Ladki Behan, and on the other hand, the Congress has also promised similar, the money being transferred to women, also jobs, and also speaking about caste census, which has been a very, very important promise. So as far as the issue-based politics is concerned, what is your view on that as far as Maharashtra elections are concerned?
My view is that there are 4 primary issues in Maharashtra election this time. The first, I think, and a very, very important issue is direct transfer of cash. It provides, we sit in our cities, we sit in our homes, and we do not realize that direct cash transfers provides a very important cushion to the distressed lower classes out there. So the efficiency and the quantum of direct transfers will be very, very important issue. To my mind, the second important issue in an industrial state like Maharashtra is going to be this whole perception that the larger deals are going to Gujarat, the larger deals are going to Karnataka, that Maharashtra is losing out on the larger deals. If the BJP is to address that narrative properly, it will have a very consequential impact. Third important issue, I think, especially people forget that the east of Maharashtra, Gadchiroli and other places are some of the most backward districts of India. The agricultural distress there, especially within soybean farmer, with the cotton farmer, it has been a long festering issue. And in many other ways, when elections come, democracy aggregates these issues as political, political differences. It's a very important issue, and how it happens it will be very critical as well. One last thing I would say is that the voter, when he goes to vote, often does listen to the last minute sloganeering. So this Hindu consolidation could turn the battle.
All right, important points there. Thank you so much, Mr. Ninad Sheth, for weighing in on the crucial Maharashtra elections. The countdown has begun. From one polling state to another, the campaigning for second phase of polling in the Jharkhand Assembly elections ends today. Voting in this phase will be held on 20th of November. In this last phase, 38 seats are up for grabs. It's a two-way battle between Jharkhand Mukti Morcha-led India Bloc and BJP-led NDA. The counting for 81 seats will be held on 23rd November. Just like Maharashtra in 2019, JMM had emerged as the winner with 30 seats. All right, that is the latest that we are tracking. And back to the SBI conclave, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman was speaking. CNBC TV 18's Shireen Bhan quizzed the Finance Minister on inflation and interest rates. Last week at the CNBC TV 18 Global Leadership Summit, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal backed the Chief Economic Advisor's proposal to de-link food inflation from the headline inflation. Finance Minister believes we need more conversations to discuss the inflation and interest rate dynamics.
Inflation and interest rates. How concerned are you about inflation? And what is the view as far as interest rates are concerned? Do you expect a cut anytime soon, or do you believe on account of where inflation is at this point in time, the cut perhaps is going to be further pushed out?
You know, this is a question which I'm sure every journalist would love to ask. And Shireen leads the bandwagon. I respect her for asking me this question. I will certainly try to give an answer. Global markets don't go by your demand and supply ups and downs. They want a consistent flow of pulses to come into India. So complex issues, but very much affecting the common man. So inflation gets actually very, very volatile because of the supply-demand constraints. Equally, I think what is important is when you look at India's growth requirements, and you can have so many different voices coming out and saying the cost of borrowing is really very stressful. And at a time when we want industries to ramp up and move building capacities, bank interest rates will have to be far more affordable. So I'm putting as much what Shireen asked me as a reply back to you, saying these are our requirements if we have to make Vikasit Bharat not just an aspiration but as a reality. So we need to have a lot more conversation on this, and I would stop at that.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18.